Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are the Breakfast Club. We got some special guests in the building. From the State of the Culture, we have Jinx, Ebony, Joe Buttons.
Don't read our shit.
Joe Button.
That's how you sound when you be introducing State of the Culture.
No, don't read my shit.
Another edition of State of the Culture. Joe Button.
Joe Button. Welcome, guys.
I've gotten better at that.
What's up? I hate when you do it, by the way.
You hate everything I do, though.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that. We don't know how
true.
y'all feel about each other because y'all hate each other, but y'all love each other. It's weird.
Charlamagne hates everything that I do.
Why do you lie like
but
this?
he loves me.
Right.
Why
I
do you
don't
lie like
understand.
this?
We're like the first cousins that are in competition with each other while being raised, while growing up. That's what we are.
We're not in competition
Professor
with each
X, and yes, we are. Shut up.
Me,
yes, we are. That was a lie.
Joe, do I hit you up offline often?
Who's winning?
That doesn't mean that you don't hate
We
him.
support each other.
Yes.
We're supposed to do lunch. I think that Charlamagne and I are powerful enough to do a lot of things together.
But
Like lunch.
Like
There's no
the
but.
competition
Lunch
thing
so
is
angry.
friendly amongst us, but
Yes.
in the grand scheme of things, I think a simple coffee date between him and I
That's that I can't do.
scares
Why?
people.
I feel like you
That
got to
sounds
do
crazy.
What sounds
I don't
crazy?
drink coffee.
A coffee date.
All right, well, get your smoothie or whatever the fuck
That's how
else
you know
you
Joe
do.
getting way too much money. He want to have
Yes.
coffee date.
He got on leather pants today. I see.
Yes.
Okay.
With the
He don't
fedora.
have coffee no more. It's
Come
coffee.
on, Joe.
He's got several fedoras.
Joe to see forever, my lady, huge fan.
What?
Huge fan of Joe to see.
Oh, that's why you got
He's
the leather joints
channeling
on.
his inner Joe.
Yeah, that's all. That's all, man. I woke up, wanted to give him a little something.
Growth is good, Joe.
I think so.
Yes. I respect it.
Ebony, get Charlamagne like you said you was.
No, I'm not gonna get him.
What'd I do?
Well, you said you hit him up offline.
Yeah.
So we were saying just before we
Welcome,
started
Ebony.
taping.
Let's go. Let's go.
The cast
before
of
we
State of the
started,
we don't appreciate this Poland Spring too.
That's a whole thing,
This is
too.
That's not even, guys. That's
revolt
not
actually
even
took
Poland
it.
Spring.
That's revolt.
I
Just
would
so
hope
you know.
not.
Okay, so before we started taping last week's episode, Joseph and I were talking, and it was like, this has gotten so good, at least in my opinion. Like the vibe of us as a cast, the just whole way we're meshing and gelling, it feels really good. I was like, I can't wait till we go on Breakfast Club next week and hear what Shar thinks, because when it was announced that I was going to be,
Oh, Shar. Okay,
yeah,
Shar.
okay. Shar, duh.
Yes.
When it was announced that I was called,
That's great for our competition.
Just sounds a little bit more cool. Like
Charlotte.
Oh, thanks.
Let's see what Shar thinks.
Let's hear what Shar thinks. That I was going to be the new co-host on State of the Culture. He expressed skepticism.
I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
He did,
That's-
Jinx.
Tell us more.
Jinx, he did.
I didn't like it. I didn't think it would mesh.
Why didn't you like it, Shar?
Why not?
I don't know. I just didn't think it would mesh.
But what do you think now?
I think it's.
You thought we were too ghetto for her.
No, not at all. I just didn't think it would mesh. I like it now, actually. I think it's a good fit. In a I don't want to say a weird. It's not a weird dynamic. It's just I didn't expect you.
Unconventional.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to be able to swim in those waters.
So right, it wasn't y'all he was questioning.
Yeah.
It was me. I knew
Nah,
that.
it sounds like us.
No.
It's been points where you see the little tension, but it's not bad tension.
Tension
It's
between who?
just a difference of opinion. Remy and Ebony sometimes, just slightly.
That's a
Really,
whole
really, it was just a 6ix9ine topic.
Right.
It was just a 6ix9ine
It was
topic.
not the 6ix9ine topic. It was the snitch topic.
But the 6ix9ine topic.
It's not anything to do with 6ix9ine.
But I understood both perspectives.
Who just happens
Like,
to be a snitch.
Both perspectives were coming from the
Absolutely.
lives and the experiences that y'all both have.
Nah, yeah, but you got to be careful when you say things like that, because a lot of people, since she's been on the show, I see, and just across social media, where people feel like, she has a problem with me, or I have a problem with her. It's another pretty girl, so Rem is intimidated, or she's, and then there's the other people's like, oh, now light skinned girls on there, so Rem got to be intimidated. First of all, she's not even really that light skinned. That's just it's the lighting. She's
But
not that light.
I did. No, but the funniest part of that, Rim, was they said that I Aunt Viv did the seat. It's
No, they didn't.
No, they did.
Oh
They
my
were like,
God.
"Yo, she's straight on Viv the seat on the show."
And you can't
It's
say
like,
they don't
come
always
on.
try to pit women against each other when you
They
see things like
always
this
do that.
happening, because you don't see
it's
people
true.
saying, "Oh, look at Jinx and Joe, they don't like it." Like, you don't see that
Ever.
No.
Yeah, but wait,
Ever.
is it people or women that do that?
No, people.
It's people.
People.
Because
Men
guys
do it as well.
definitely.
Yeah.
I think guys even
I
more.
never put Remy and Ebony against each other. In that scenario, I'm always worried about Joe. Joe's always the wild card.
Why is he the wild card?
You know what's
Because
funny?
he's Joe.
He
Why you
said-
act like you don't know him?
What did I say to you?
Yeah.
What did I say to you? Did I say that to you?
What did you say?
Well, in that conversation that Ebony mentioned, when she said what she said, I said, Charlamagne expresses skepticism towards all of my ventures.
Because of you.
when everyday struggle started,
And I was right.
you were wrong.
I was dead right.
What was you right about?
You
that he
were
left?
wrong.
I said Joe's
what
not
you say?
staying on this show.
No, you said Joe would implode. Be clear. Let's be careful with narratives. That was not Joe imploding. That is what will be looked at as arguably the biggest business blunder this decade by Complex.
Oh, God.
That wasn't Joe imploding. So the show ended. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
So
the show's still going on.
oh yeah, the show is still going.
No, it didn't.
The show-
Oh yeah, I mean, it's still going on.
They just had they had some
Wayno
moments
did a
with
good job.
Birdman just now.
I love
Yeah, I like
Wayno.
Wayno.
I love Wayno and I love Act.
Act, they do good. They do a good job.
I appreciate the fact that show is still on.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's
Of
different.
course,
Yeah.
it's different.
It's like Royce's reply to Lupe replacing me in Slaughterhouse.
Which I
Like
appreciate.
it would be a different entity.
But I think
at
he
that
said
point.
it because you started off doing morning and you left. Then you started doing
Morning when?
Me and you when we did mornings. Then the rap.
No, when I went to bat for DJ Envy behind the scenes.
You did.
Talk about it, Joe.
Yeah,
Let's
we
hear
went-
this.
No,
Wait,
no,
what
no,
happened?
yeah.
Everybody goes to bat for Envy.
Yo, mad rappers be saving
Wait,
in
huh?
his life. Nelly, Joe Budden, Remy.
Joe Button.
I don't think Envy expresses that
Joe
enough
Button
on
was
his
a
daily
friend of
show.
mine. Yes, he was absolutely.
Explain.
You said was or like
Yeah,
not
he
anymore?
said
He said was.
She definitely
I
said
don't
was.
Niggas get new hair and switch it up. They start learning past tense shit. That's crazy.
But anything I do, I call Joe. When I started doing housing, did I call you?
Yes, you did.
And what
Why
did
would
you
you
say?
call Joe Budden
You
about
said Joe
housing?
needed housing.
Because I
'Cause
was like,
Envy
yo,
is-
I'm doing real estate. I think you can make some money.
Oh,
I'm doing
yeah,
it.
yeah.
brother.
Trying to
Would you
get
like
you
to do it?
back.
Envy looked out. Envy
And Joe
looked out
said,
when I
no,
needed a nanny.
It's a scam. You're gonna go to jail. That's what that's what
Yeah, I stayed away from that. But Envy looked out when I needed a nanny. Envy has looked out
Swim instructors.
in relationship advice. Like Envy
So
looks
Envy
out.
was your nanny?
No,
My goodness.
no,
So
don't.
you found one?
No, not now.
Oh.
So anyway, when they were doing morning, they needed a new radio show, morning show at Hot 97 back in the day. They were going through transition and they wanted to hire Joe. So Joe said, "Okay, I'll do it, but only if I could bring Envy with me." They didn't want me, but he brought me anyway.
Wow. You didn't ever tell us that.
Why did you
That's
believe in
solid.
Envy in that way?
I don't even hear the gratitude in that nigga voice. Like
What?
you just say it too
Right.
cavalierly for
What
me.
made you pick Envy out of everyone?
Because he's light skinned.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
You
man.
like him light skinned, Joe?
Nah, Envy
Oh, my
deserved a shot.
yes.
Envy deserved.
Actually.
That's not true.
Okay.
I mean, you haven't proven to us otherwise.
Whoa.
I can show you my phone right now and prove it.
Please don't.
Like, you know.
Okay, back to
What were we saying?
So that's what happened. So they hired Joe,
Yes.
and Joe brought me along, and we did the show, and then
Envy needed a shot, man.
Right.
Envy needed a shot. Envy had earned the shot in my eyes. And if you were going to do something unconventional, which is what it was at the time, then let's make it all the way unconventional. I think we brought in Ashley Larry at one point, who they hated. They hated it. They hated that because it's like Ashley Larry gonna get on there and be a nigga, but he did it. And it was hilarious. That Smackfest shit, unconventional.
Right.
Like, just we did a lot of things that you shouldn't have done. This is before the FCC. Is that what it is?
Yep.
This is before the FCC cracked down
Yeah, that
on what you
Smackfest
could
was
do.
crazy.
it was crazy.
I don't know how that
We were just
slid
talking
by.
about that the other day.
But it was crazy.
You
So that's the time.
that
Remember,
That was fire.
I wasn't
Bring
there.
something like that back.
Yeah.
That might help like aggressive people. Like you see what Mike Tyson going to do. Like he might need that. You might just need to smack people.
I'm
every
not
now
playing
and
that game with
You don't
Mike
want to get
Tyson.
smacked by Mike Tyson.
I don't want to get nothing by Mike Tyson. A hard dap.
then. But what you did with Envy is what should happen in the
Yeah.
culture if you really care about the culture.
That's true.
I agree.
I think Joe does that a lot actually, and in all his ventures, you know,
True.
he always he brings in his friends. Well, except for with me, we're friends now.
I
But
fight for what I always live and die on the side of right and wrong. Like when it seemed like it was some taking too long to get Ebony aboard.
That's true. No, he absolutely
Whoa.
did that. That's true.
Whoa.
After the chemistry test, he came outside and inquired, like, what's going on? It seems like it's not like it's a you in, you out. And I explained to him. I just put the card on the table. He was like, I'm glad you told me. I'll take care of it. And he did, much to his credit. And Charlamagne was not the only person skeptical about what me in this setting would look like. Let's be very clear about that. I think a lot of folks inside the building and outside the building were like, it just doesn't seem like that makes sense. That makes no sense. And I commend Joe because his vision was it makes all the sense in the world.
Well,
and I think
I think it's because of people judge you by the things that you've done already.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really know where you come from. They don't know. Like, I find out stuff about you every week that we come in. Like, it's so crazy. Like, I love E. But it's the same thing that I feel like with Jinx. When Jinx, our first 2
How
episodes.
Joe didn't want me on the show.
Damn.
Joe didn't want you on the show,
Wow.
Jinx?
He didn't want me on the
He
show.
tried to bring envy.
I didn't want him on the show.
I said, it's not he didn't want me on the show. Joe goes, I didn't want him on the show.
I didn't want him on the show because you're gonna clean it up because you're smart. I know that. But
Yeah, I'm gonna
truth
figure
of
this
the
out.
matter, like Remy just said, I judged that wrong. I was coming from Complex. Jinx was at Complex. Complex wasn't really utilizing his ability correctly, and that's the sample size that I had. Once he was taken out of that, and I'm thank God. But once he was taken out of that, out of that system, you know, the right system would turn a role player to a superstar. Like I can't imagine this show without Jinx. I can't.
And for the things that are the way I was thinking at Complex, like, you know, I was doing news every day. So it's like you have all the facts. It's not really that much of your opinion. This show has pushed me and challenged me. I was just saying it this last episode of like my favorite thing on the show is how sitting alongside these people, it's really it's made me rethink a lot of the way that I think, like the way I say things, the way that I like compute information. But that wouldn't have happened if these people weren't.
Well, it's okay. You can say
challenging me.
sitting next to Remy. You can say it.
Yeah, Remy's definitely like influenced me for the worst and the best.
I enjoy Jinx because he just always seems so logical and non-emotional. Like everything seems like it's coming from a very thoughtful place.
It's been some emotion, but they usually edit me right.
So who comes up with the topics that you guys discuss every day? Is that a collaborative effort or is it the producers?
It's a collaboration of the producers, ourselves. Like if we see something that's going on or something that we feel like we need to address, we have this huge group chat to the point that I don't even know who's on it no more, so I'd be scared to talk in it. I'm like, I did not
Remy be
recognize
like, screenshot, who numbered this? Before I say something.
because I don't know who in there. I'm not saying that.
All right, so can I throw out some topics and I want to see y'all thoughts?
Yeah.
All right, Meg Thee Stallion, right now with her label deal.
Yes.
Right, where she's saying that she wants to renegotiate her contract. So as artist, as an attorney, as somebody who studies all of this in the business, what are your thoughts on who's right and who's wrong here with Carl Crawford and his label, with Meg Thee Stallion saying she signed this when she was only 20 years old. She's only getting 40% of the money. She has to pay her engineers, her producers, everybody else, and they get all her touring money and everything before she sees it.
Should we go down the line?
I'll start. I think no, because I find it fascinating. I think the case is really fascinating because, like, to the letter of the law, the record company is right. Like, we in the law, it's called the Four Corners Doctrine, which means the four corners on the page, what's on the paper, controls. So according to that language, it is what it is. It's just a terrible deal. But I think Meg had a victory yesterday in court where the judge basically said that they're not going to be able to hold her back from releasing music and that they cannot temporary restraining order. That's correct, Joseph. And that they cannot retaliate against her on social media. So I think there's also just a notion of fair dealing, right? Like that's just ultimately an underlying question. And I think as we see this play out with Meg, first of all, artists are empowered, and I really want our artists to speak to this in a minute, in a new way. It used to be that the record companies held all the cards, all the power, and the artists were pretty much silenced and had to just submit to poor terms. The smartest thing Meg did was do the Instagram video because, like, you got to tell it. Because once you tell it and you get a public narrative on your side, it can bring the company to their knees.
Like the
People
last
been telling it for a
like the
long
last
time,
with
though.
Diddy.
That contract, though.
People been telling
doesn't.
it for a long time, though. There's been so many artists that talked about bad contracts, get a
After
lawyer,
the fact, though,
all the time.
Yes,
I feel like a lot of it's after
all
the
the time.
fact.
I feel like in 2020 you should not be getting jerked. I think it's too much information out there.
Joe, you signed a contract. I know you wanted to get out of it one time, didn't you? When you were Def Jam,
Don't bring it up. Don't say those. We don't talk about.
I signed 5. I signed.
Sorry, Remy. Sorry.
I signed 5 or 6 contracts in my career that I wanted. Every contract that I signed,
You want to get out of
in my career, they were all bad.
Right.
And I mean, Ebony talks about how bad that contract sounded that you read about, but to me that sounds like standard.
Standard.
It
word.
is standard.
That's fair dealing.
Yeah, and because I'm an artist, you know, I don't know what's right or wrong here. I know traditionally in this business, you have to amend your mistakes. All artists go through it. That contract is a mistake on the behalf of Meg Thee Stallion. On Carl Crawford's side, you're a brand new artist. You have yet to release your debut album. Who the fuck are you to want to amend a thing right now? Now, at some point in the future, because we're friends or we have a relationship, or I went through this where I called Webb one day and said, yo, I want to amend some shit. He said, Joe, why would I do that?
Think about where she was when she signed
I couldn't
that
answer
deal.
it.
Think about where she was when she signed that deal.
Yeah, and we have yet to hear from Carl Crawford, probably because we can't hear from him.
Right. Because of the restraining order now too.
But there is a reason that Meg signed it. We don't know what that reason is.
$10,000. Because she clearly needed $10,000.
She probably needed money at the time. She wanted a chance. She wanted an opportunity. She thought that was the way. And then when she popped,
I could imagine a world where the scope was a bit broader.
And the argument, though, just so y'all know, is that that's duress. Like, at some point, that level of limited sides of the equation, like what he would potentially or she would potentially gain on the record company side versus the very small relative other side of the artist's benefit. The argument legally is the contract was entered into under a duress situation. I'm not saying that's the case here with Meg Thee Stallion, but that's how it would play out in court.
If that's the case, every artist is entered under duress. Most of them come from impoverished neighborhoods and from the bottom. I don't know too many. It's a handful of artists that came in that already came from a wealthy family or was just in a good state when they started.
Right.
I feel that argument could be made across the board for artists in general. But the issue is what I think Envy said. We're at a point now where it's just too much information out there. This argument has been going on forever. Bad deals, publishing, rights, percentages, things like that, where you shouldn't even be into. But also, I was thinking more so she was 20 years old when she signed it. Does that have any, hold any weight on it?
I think you'll be over 18, right?
I mean, I look at it too as like, I'm not a lawyer or artist, but I'm in the everyday Joe, right? And I'm watching everyone on social media comment on what she should have done, what she shouldn't have done. But these are people that like press accept cookies and don't read the terms of service on anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about reading, like,
you know what they would do for $10,000?
Exactly, right? And so this is the everyday Joe's weighing in on this situation while she's trying to speak her piece and make it public. I feel like let's watch it play out. I do agree, like, what you sign is what you sign.
That's right.
But
no, it's no but.
No, the but is that everyone's like, she should have read. Like, y'all don't read.
She should have hired an entertainment lawyer.
Well, she was there. She was there. Attorney. That's what she said. She was there.
Well,
that's a conflict of interest.
That's a mistake.
Attorney close to them.
But it's a common mistake
because you come in. Most artists don't have a lawyer. We'll get you one. Don't worry. Hold on. Use this guy over here. He's great. He's low. He's cheap. You get it done.
The music industry is predatory. It always has been.
Right.
So we're gonna get the person. I mean, first thing I said was, okay, where's an entertainment lawyer? And the first thing they said was, I have one for you. Okay. Then I've gotten to points in my career where maybe the money was low and quite frankly, I didn't see the value in retaining one. Maybe I wanted to keep that money. Maybe I was in a selfish state. Like, there are millions of reasons why that happens, but it happens often. This is a very common theme. We're just not hearing from it from most of the artists that are out.
It's also...
Didn't Cash Doll just go through this?
Cash Doll got bought out of her contract.
She bought herself out, she said.
Yeah,
she bought herself out.
Signed her deal with Republic.
Lucky her.
But I'm going to say some truth and shame the devil right now. We talk about advisement. I've been advised by different people at different points in my career, it's okay to enter this deal even though it's a bad deal, because once the project blows up, we'll go back and we'll renegotiate and there'll be no problem. Have y'all heard that?
That's when it's the biggest
we all
problem.
Heard that, right? And by reputable entities, I'll say it like that. And I'm sitting here thinking, I know I didn't go to law school for nothing. That's some stupid shit. Just like you said, Joe, because then you go back to renegotiate. Like, now that we know the project's successful, let's renegotiate. What is their incentive to redo a deal? Right.
Well,
so I think people are out here giving bad advice.
This is what we would do on the show. In closing.
No, y'all wouldn't close it.
In closing.
Especially one of y'all.
I would suggest somebody, even if it's a bad deal, like Ab said, because sometimes it's profitable to even take the bad deal because it's better than what you have at the time. Always try to keep the terms extremely short, as short as possible. This way, it's only one cycle, or maybe two, or just 2 years, or something like that. So this way, you're not trapped into something that's going on and on for a long period of time.
You know what I meant to ask, Rem?
Smart.
The other day, I was looking on social media, looking at something that you posted. And they were mad that you gave your baby a sip of soda. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Everybody has a trigger in this room.
You see, the thing is this. she controls us. If I said what I said online, but in real life, if I'd have told her no, she'd have tore that restaurant to shreds. What? You tell that girl no? Like she's really, even though me and my husband both have other children, we had them when we were so young. Our children are grown now. We had them when we were kids. Right. She's really the only child, and she runs shit. Like there's really no way around it. So she grabbed my soda and wanted to take a sip. There was no way I was gonna laugh. Pat wanted to be the bad guy. He was too busy filming her ruin my outfit. But I think.
One sip of soda for hours of calm. That's what fair trade.
Exactly. But what happens with social media, everybody has. That's one thing I dislike about social media. Everybody with thumbs and access to a phone has an opinion, and to some extent, it's valid. Like, oh well, you put it out there, so I can say whatever I want. No, you can't say whatever you want. Don't say nothing because if. Never mind.
Now, Joe, you went back on Love and Hip Hop. Why?
And so did Remy.
But Remy's been there for the last couple years. That's Remy's
Joe
shit.
went back after Joe said, "I'm not ever going back. That show was beneath me. That shit is for clowns." Yada yada yada.
In his defense, I raised the stakes of the show a little bit. You know, it's not just bad TV anymore. You can actually be on Love and Hip Hop and be Grammy nominated and have hit records while you're on there. So it's not just a graveyard anymore. And I'm pretty sure since his newfound success and all his other ventures, his bag is way much better than it was when he was on there before. And it feels good when you got to go back to somebody else and make them pay for all the past transgressions.
Yeah, but I don't want to see Joe getting yelled at. I don't want to see Joe getting yelled out.
I'm telling you, man, I wish I had a sister, man. This is why I wish I had one.
Yeah. Do he look like he care? Do he be looking like he cares? Don't be like this.
You do.
Okay.
So is that
Hey, I told you when we did that fucking pull-up. It ain't what you think. Did you see it?
I don't want to see you pretending, though.
But it's not pretending. Every time you see me, I'm just sitting here getting yelled at by somebody.
Oh, I did see
You're a meme.
I did see all the state of the culture on this.
I've not said anything. You have not heard Joe's opinion, my feelings toward anything. No. This is not the Joe story here. No.
So what was this? So that was the reason, the bag and...
You told Young Bird you got $1 million. You got an M.
I know, and then you guys sat up here and
made a mockery.
Joe got an M? For what?
Love and Hip Hop.
Oh, yeah, I believe that.
Okay.
Leather pants, yeah, you got it.
I'm more shocked about why Charlamagne doesn't believe that, and you're in the same business.
Because I've seen Mona Scott Young's paychecks to people before.
People.
Okay,
yeah,
wait.
Be clear.
But part of what Remy is saying, part of what Remy is
I
trying
love
to tell
my
y'all.
checks. I want me to film sex. Hold on. Let me dress the golden child.
Listen, let me go and fucking compromise my contract real quick. Part of what Remy is trying to tell y'all is you guys are absolutely right. At one point, that was a shit show with a different business model. And I think at some point Viacom realized that, and it took some years, but you could see the slow steps toward different implementation. Rem, Cardi, there was rumors for years that they were approaching Jim and Chrissy to come
Jim
back.
actually created the show on the low. People don't know that. Mona jerked him, but
I would argue that Joe created it. I would argue it too.
Joe who?
Me.
When he used to do stuff on YouTube online.
What are you talking about now, Joe?
When him and Tahiri used to do that stuff and follow him online.
Everything.
Everything.
I'm
Jim
telling you.
and Chrissy actually went to Viacom to pitch the show with Mona.
I know, and I think that you could pitch my IP to Mona.
No.
That's crazy. No, absolutely not.
That's how that works.
But anyway, back to what I was saying. Over the years, they've made some changes. Remy's a big part of that. A few other people were a big part of it, and I think the finished product you see today on the screen is just very different, and it's expensive. Every show I watch, I'm counting everyone's checks. They've eliminated all of the people who are paid in the bracket that Charlamagne is speaking about. There is nobody on that show that's cheap. This is an expensive show now.
You can tell from your
and Mona's not even really running it anymore. It's Big Fish, right?
Let me tell you about Big Fish. I really like them.
You don't like big fish?
No, I really like
does.
that.
Oh, you like
No,
no.
Joe was like, what?
I'm gonna tell you why. Because they don't mind spending it in order to, like, there's some people that they want to get a product and they'll lower the quality of it if they feel like, look at, I'll give it an example. God, this is probably gonna come back to haunt me. But look at the Knicks, right? The Knicks don't never really need to pay to get a good team because people gonna still sell out the Garden because it's the Knicks. So I feel like with other regimes, with the whole Love and Hip Hop brand, they knew people was gonna tune in just because it was Love and Hip Hop. Right. Whereas and that's why if you look back, you would have never seen a scene with me, Yandy, Joe, this one, because it was too expensive. So when I come now, like we had my off parole party, I'm looking at everybody's there, Christian and Joe and I'm like, oh, they dropped the bag for the scene. But it's every scene is like that. Right. Safari and Erica's wedding, things like that, and they don't mind. They just flew with me to North Carolina to shoot everything that I was doing down there. I was closing my store. I'm trying to relocate it to New York.
You give away
storyline.
What are you doing?
They'll be fine. I said that already. I'm selling my house, and they literally put the whole crew together, and we went out there and stayed for a few days in North Carolina, just because that's part of my story. Whereas before they'd be like, "Oh, it's going to be too expensive. What are you doing here in New York?" Like now, but that's not my real life. So I appreciate what they're doing now, and I think that's why it looks better. Even visually, it looks better. I could actually watch it. I never even used to watch it.
Boy, will they flashback you to death, Big Fish. Big Fish gonna
They
flash.
say
Oh my
sometimes I
God.
be confused.
Nah,
I'm like,
run
wait,
that
is this a flashback?
Nah, they
or is
pull
it
out the
something?
receipts.
Yeah, but 90 times, like, all right, the nigga proposed, enough.
You don't like? So wait, does that bother you to see that scene so much?
It bothers me that they have the rights to it in perpetuity.
Wow. Yeah.
They do show that a lot. I'm like,
It bothers me that I didn't have the leverage originally to negotiate properly.
let me ask you this: being that you bring your friends along with you, Joe, when Tahiri came back to the show, was that partly your decision? Did they come to you and say, "Look, we're gonna bring Tahiri back. Is that cool? Do you mind filming with her?" Or was that something they sprung on you?
I don't think they sprung anything on me, but it was mentioned.
Okay.
You didn't have a problem with it.
It doesn't concern me.
I'm gonna say this one more time. Joe's getting a lot of money, guys. He just doesn't care about things anymore. He just doesn't care.
I thought I spent 12 episodes on Love and Hip Hop telling everybody that this has nothing to do with Joe. Joe wishes everybody the best. But
Would you hook Jinx up with somebody so he could be on there also?
Yeah, Jinx is out looking for
I know you're not old Dominican you don't use anymore, Joe.
Wait,
Don't
please,
talk
wait.
about that. Don't talk about that.
You got an old Dominican you don't use anymore.
my
You grab
goodness.
the Jinx.
This is my trick.
Like, everyone has their thing. Jinx and Love and Hip Hop.
Wait now.
No.
Wait, because y'all bringing up group tension amongst us.
The money's
good tension?
good though.
Well,
Jinx
in the
doesn't
gr-
like. First of
well,
all, he doesn't like Love and Hip Hop to begin with.
He's not the
This is,
biggest Love and Hip Hop fan.
I like the way that
And
sounds.
last week, he was on
feeling
the show
away.
unintentionally. Like,
Yeah, I saw
he was
that.
watching and he
I
was
was on
there.
it as well. I
Yeah,
loved
Ebony.
it.
And
Ebony, did y'all sign releases?
Why'd you sign the release?
Well,
Well,
I explained it.
Yes.
And
Go
I
ahead,
was
The
counselor.
whole thing.
I learned some things from
Yeah,
Ebony too.
co-counsel,
I said,
take it away.
So he was like, "But I'm just saying, I didn't sign off." And I said, "Well, technically,
You kinda did.
we signed off with State of the
You
Culture.
make the stallion.
And,
We call Crawford, and we can put you where the fuck we want to put you, and shut the fuck up.
Wow. You don't know how the Diddy contracts work,
When I'm
Jinx?
seeing all those bags,
Shut
I just
up,
want
Charlotte.
to go just off to the side. Yeah, I'm not. Wasn't excited.
No, he was
I
not.
wasn't
excited.
That's a great way to put that.
Yeah.
No. And Remy was like, "Nah, he's fucking serious." Like,
No,
he's
I knew.
serious.
No, I
Yeah.
knew he was serious. That's
He
why,
was
because people was
serious.
joking
Like,
and
we were
stuff.
like,
I'm
laugh
like,
out loud.
I was having a blast.
I understand that because people do that to me all the time. I told Jinx that I realized just recently, strangely, people don't know when I'm serious or when I'm joking. Sometimes when I'm joking, people take me serious and it gets me in trouble a lot. I was like, I was just really kidding. I really wasn't going to shoot the place up. But
Rim, come on now. Your reputation precedes you just a little
that's
bit.
what I was like,
do
I
that in
was
the
joking.
airport.
Those is jokes. But then there'll be times where I'll be dead serious and people don't know that I'm serious because I said it with a smile. But like that was the smile,
You know how serious I am by the. If Joe's laughing a lot, that means I'm very serious. Like the more serious I get, the funnier.
The funnier it is to
and then
Joe.
I get mad, and then I start sending texts on the side.
And then he
But
texts me
in
on
the
the
end, I didn't get paid, so that's how that ended.
Oh,
And
damn.
Joe, how lonely were
Thanks,
you
Envy.
when you made "Pump It Up" and talked about masturbation? I've been rapping that song for years, and I didn't know it was about
Wait,
That was a
what?
hard life.
Yeah, I told you,
masturbation.
they were talking about this
Wait,
last week.
I just want to know. Don't answer that. Where did that come from?
That was
Blaze.
a hard transition right
Like,
there.
Well, Just Blaze
in
recently
case y'all
told a
didn't know,
story. that-
Envy's
yeah.
role in the show is to transition to dick shit.
There's something about you we want to give you on your way out, Joe.
Yeah, right. I'm not taking it.
I don't
But
want to
what
see
was
it.
what?
That was a hard transition.
was-
You know
How
what?
you just go to masturbation? What the fuck?
Yeah, Envy. Yeah, while wearing salmon.
They did
So
morning,
back to masturbation.
They did mornings together.
No, but we haven't gotten on
Just
masturbation
Blaze,
yet.
yo, the legend of Pump It Up never dies. Like, sometimes when these stories come up, I'll be like, damn, man, why can't Tipsy and Jaquan, like, why all of those big records back then, why can't they just keep doing this? Just Blaze got to shut the fuck up, man.
Jesus Christ. What's up with you,
Because
Joe?
that's the bottom line to it. He gotta chill the fuck out. I've told this story.
I never heard this story.
Somebody else has told this story. Listen,
I
when
saw
I
Royce
was
talking about it.
21 years old, 22 years old, I had no idea of how to create a record. I didn't know how to make a song.
Right.
I didn't know the construct. I didn't know.
man.
Yeah, I didn't know what BDS and all of this shit. So there were a lot of. Pump It Up went through a lot of experimentation. That's a good way to say that. And one part, talking about an 8-bar verse, eight bar part in the second verse. In the pre-recording stages, it was my hand.
Wow.
And the point of it was
You should see
wasn't
how Rim's
about
looking
it
at
wasn't about mass. But it wasn't about because women's too hard for this shit. No fun. It was my hand, and the point of it wasn't a
You
mass.
didn't know this, Rim?
It
So
wasn't.
no. So
I
it's
just found
true.
this out last week. I used to sing this
No,
song.
it's not true
My
because
jump
it
off was
wasn't
his
about
hand.
masturbation. It was just. It was like
Joe
It
said you
sounds
changed
like
the lyrics. He said
masturbation.
instead of my jump off, it was my hand that was.
Yeah,
It was
said I
about
go
the
out
hit
too
on the
much.
side.
My hand doesn't
Don't
care
mind
if I
hanging
go
out with the
so
fellas?
much. My
no.
hand-
It was a whole different. It was different. Like I erased the whole thing. It was much worse than that.
So this was a period of time when you were masturbating a lot, and then you put it in a song.
I still masturbate a lot.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
my
so
thing. Did y'all
now
see the
I see what the
OnlyFans leak?
issues were on the
Did y'all see the OnlyFans leak?
Sheesh.
Y'all didn't see the OnlyFans leak?
You have an OnlyFans account?
No, yo, man, y'all too corporate now. Y'all getting too much money. OnlyFans, all the beautiful girls that get on OnlyFans and do whatever they got to do.
No, I know what it
the
is. I thought-
hackers hacked it.
So you masturbate the
So it
OnlyFans is
leaked.
what you telling us?
No, I'm telling you that there were plenty of
Why
happy
is
men
Willie
out
looking
there
at you
during
like
the
that?
OnlyFans leak.
Okay.
Because I
I thought you
told
was
him to
not
not
was
answer from
joking.
the
No.
beginning.
Pump It Up is about
I don't give a
masturbating.
fuck about what these niggas is talking about in here, man.
This whole time I thought you were saying you had an OnlyFans account of you masturbating and it
Angela
leaked.
Yee, we understand what you thought.
Okay.
So I have a question for you guys. What do you guys think? You guys all watch the show, I hope. I know Charlamagne does. Envy doesn't really take me as the one that might watch. He's too busy like selling houses with weird shaped people.
And getting hair and shit.
Selling houses with big pun, as Donnell Rollins said. That's what Donnell said.
He lost mad weight. Stop
Donnell
it.
gets smacked. Tell him stand this way. Watch it, toots. But
Watch it, tits. Watch it, tits.
what do you like? We're juggling with the idea. We feel like we need a studio audience, or we would like a studio audience. Like for someone who has a show where you guys sit here and y'all are in your little cozy space in your room, like what do you think about that idea?
I don't know if y'all need a studio audience. Only because I care about y'all opinions, and I think sometimes with studio audience, people start performing for the crowd as opposed to having conversations
You
with
think
each
we
other.
care? You think we care about what any? Well, maybe I don't know.
No, I might start.
No.
before. Yeah, I might start doing
You know, I'm like, all right,
whatever
maybe
the people
Jinx.
want. Yeah.
We might get a little too crazy.
I love a studio audience. I've done some shows historically with one. The energy is crazy. Like I just guested on Wendy Williams a couple weeks ago, and it's just I went out there. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Like you
It's-
might
it's
really get that
electric.
energy from the audience.
Yeah,
Laughing
yeah.
or screaming things out, and that
Yeah.
sometimes adds.
Or their skepticism. Like I'm liable to pop off with a point of view that's in opposition to the mainstream, and that to me like
Right.
is something good too to feel
People might
that.
boo.
But I
to
look
feel
at
that
y'all
tension.
like I look at y'all like Around the Horn and First Take. Pardon the interruption. Those shows don't have
They're studio shows.
studio audiences.
But Joe, when you do the podcast live, does that feel like a different energy than when you record in the studio?
Totally different. Totally
Which
different.
one do you think would work better than for State of the Culture?
No, we need a live audience.
Yep.
That's a
Also, I think about all the fun that we have in between, like the stuff you guys actually see. Like that to me is sometimes the best part. It's the part I like going to work for. With a studio audience, they would be able to catch all that, and it would be something that only they have that would be exciting for people to want to show up to.
But wait till
the
after
show.
this coronavirus scare passes, then you might want to have.
They got
and,
no
and
crowd
wait,
of
but wait, I just want to add, be clear that this is not a negative. It's actually one of the show's best attributes, and I try to apply this to everything I do. The ability to change on the fly. Like, he brought up, pardon the interruption, all those ESPN shows. Nah, I don't think we're in that lane at all. Because I can tell all the things that they're not allowed to talk about as soon as they hit the screen. They actually just regurgitate and juggle topics all week, and it's personality driven.
But they can't talk about politics.
We get into the shits. I think we surprise ourselves at the end of every show with, damn, all right.
We went there.
Yeah.
Or the topic we think we don't want to talk about, and then that'd be
we
the
hit
topic.
the
That'd be the
talk.
best one.
Yeah.
How did this show start? How did it come about?
How did this show come about? You calling me and saying, Puff want to talk to you?
I just wanted you to tell that story. I see you. You gonna paint me as a hater? Like
No. How did this show come about? But wait, I started this show by expressing the immense amount of support that we show for each other behind the scenes.
Yes.
Sure.
That's true. I was real appreciative for that call. And I got with Puff, and I didn't know the process would be so long, but it took a while, and that nigga's a perfectionist, like, for real. But once we got it going, it contradicted everything that I had ever heard about Revolt prior to me being there. Well, I'd always heard,
What'd you hear about Revolt?
we're not gonna say too much, but one of the
Hey,
classic
Sharice.
things in the street was, well, no, well, actually, similar to what Charlamagne expressed about Love and Hip Hop. Your Revolt might not pay you. I didn't experience that. Like, maybe heard they might not be invested. No, they're super invested. They go all the way there. That's part of that's one of the things that makes going to work feel so good. Not only is the panel amazing, everybody behind the scenes is amazing.
Yeah, I heard a lot of bullshit too about Revolt. It was I did. Especially coming from like traditional news outlets and all that, like where the bag is a certain level and all this, that, and the third, and the eyeballs are a certain level, frankly. About millions of people. And then like there was a lot of, if you're leaving, FNC, you should go to CNN, you should go to MS. I think that was the expected move for obvious reasons. I was a cable news personality. You go to another cable news network. But I was very intentional that I wanted to go in the opposite direction. And I talked to Joseph about that. Like when we had our conversation, he's like, I'm clear about why I think you make sense for us. Why do you think we make sense for you? And so for me, it was a natural progression of the relationship I had started with the Breakfast Club and with my relationship with y'all in this room and your audience. And it only made sense to grow that. And I can testify that my impact on the culture has never been greater, and I'm grateful for that.
Good job, Joseph.
That was good.
Why did it turn into 4 though? Because originally I wanted Joe and Act to go to Revolt and do that, but Act didn't want to go.
Oh, okay. I thought you was gonna be pussy.
Nah, Act didn't want to go. He was scared.
Yeah, he was. How do you think that panned out, Fact?
I think it's fine fact. I think him and Wayne will make a better pair than you and Act did because you are so overpowering.
That's not really the question I'm asking. Do you think that his decision to stay long term in that company has diminished what he was doing independently?
Nah, because he's still doing it.
And
At least
things
on
might not have
Instagram.
worked out for him at Revolt. Who knows? You never know.
Oh no, Ack in the game now. You got deals with Steve. he getting to it now.
Well, how did we end
And
up
shout
with
out to
4?
Ack. Oh, that was the question.
Yeah,
How did we end up at 4? Me and Puff fighting for months.
You wanted 4, he didn't want 4. You wanted 2.
The original idea was 2.
Okay.
Me and another person, and
Say her name.
I didn't like that.
Oh, it was a woman.
Who was the other person? No, there wasn't.
At
a
one
girl.
point, it was Azalea Banks for a second.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Which would've been
we were
great.
gonna do that. We were gonna do Azalea Banks. We were gonna do Azalea Banks.
That would have been crazy.
And in theory, what an amazing
How long would
idea.
that have lasted?
I think that's
But that's what I wanted to create. Something where you would say, how long is that going to last? And that didn't pan out for whatever reason. So then we said, all right, we need 3. And then when we were screen testing the 3,
Was I really not supposed to be on this show? Shit.
Nah, you weren't,
No.
Jinx.
I keep telling you.
Like, look, man, just throw this shit up here.
and
Like,
in the screen testing, you could tell you needed 4, and that'd be the important part sometimes with getting companies to understand chemistry because you can't see it. But Puff is a creative.
In the screen testing, they realized that Rem is just like Joe. She just has a wig on. That's
a
all.
fact.
That's what happened. So they was like, we need more if we're gonna keep her.
Once I saw once Azalea came in, because I still wanted I wanted a woman, dynamic, blunt, like the qualities I was looking for, and Rem was already in our wheelhouse, but it hit me after that. I was like, wait a minute, how can we convince Remy to give this a shot?
How did they convince you, Rem?
Lie to her. Tell her that the show's going to be about one thing and it's really going to be about something totally different. And once she's here, and we're paying her the cheapest check that she gets out of all the checks she gets, but it's on time, she's going to love us so much that she's going to stay.
This is hysterical.
That is the
my
Revolt
God.
way. Revolt is the cheapest check I get out of all my checks.
It's out of all my checks.
Mine too.
But it's always on time.
It is.
Yeah.
And I actually love going to work. Like Joe said, every time I love it. Like
But we don't have a
I
And
choice.
love-
it's black owned, black excellence. Hey.
Yeah, that too. But listen, behind door number 2, I'm hoping that we are so amazing and we make it so great that I can renegotiate.
we negotiate.
There you go.
with my short terms that I made sure that was in there.
That part.
But yeah.
That's the question I wanted to ask y'all. All y'all re-upped?
I'm
With
not
what,
re-up.
Revolt?
Oh, with Revolt?
No.
Oh.
Oh, never mind.
Cricket.
Ask him.
I'm asking.
He just answered you. He said no.
He said no.
Charlamagne said no.
She said no.
Did I say
NBA?
what?
I got 5 kids. I'm long term. I know my route. I'm long term.
It's renegotiation time.
kids.
I wanted the shortest contract possible, so
You won it?
yes.
For the reasons Remy expressed earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also because you never know, like if something else happens and who wants to be stuck if that's not, who knows?
Yeah, you got to evaluate
like
your
to-
best interest in the moment, which
I mean,
constantly could change.
We're always getting syndicated in more markets, over 100 now. Yeah.
I mean, well, whoever's out there listening,
I'm trying to clean it up.
We have space. I mean, do you have room in your schedule in case they need to?
Oh
you know,
my
fill
God!
in? Like,
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely. I'd
I
love
could
to be here
probably
more.
squeeze it in.
Yeah.
You know, just
Probably
know
gonna
there's
happen.
there's options, guys.
I'll be here for a while.
Right.
You guys but we appreciate you guys for
Yes.
joining us.
This was
Don't
super
show
fun.
now.
Appreciate you guys for joining us.
I don't mind this conversation.
Talented niggas out of here.
And we do have the Love and Hip Hop cameras outside.
For real.
For real.
But I'll be here.
All right. Thanks for having us, guys. Don't
And last thing before y'all leave, just
Oh, shit.
real quick.
Dropping
Deontay
Molotov
Wilder, Tyson
cocktails.
Fury rematch. Who you think is gonna win?
Tyson Fury.
Fury.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But what
Fury.
happened?
All right, just asking.
But I love Deontay Wilder, and I think it's a shame that we have to speak about him in that light because we've
And what
seen.
light did he? Because he lost.
No, he's
a
lost
boxer.
twice.
Yeah,
to
it's
people.
too early for a
It was not
rematch.
the end. I think he should
too early
take a
for a
fight.
rematch. I saw
a
y'all
couple of
talking
fights.
about this.
Yeah, we
were.
talked about it.
We had a long conversation about it.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
much
asking. I
longer.
want to see what your
But
opinion is.
this is the thing.
Remy just
Well,
killed
you-
me. and started
you
some
had a
shit. I
great
want y'all to
point,
know that,
Rem.
Remy. You started
And
this
this
shit
will-
up here, but go ahead.
Me?
Remy had a great point, and we always talk about this. Like Floyd Mayweather messed people up, yo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Floyd makes
Undefeated.
people think
The
that you're
bar's too
supposed
high.
to be undefeated.
Right.
And that's just not the case. Floyd is an anomaly. He's amazing at what he does. And also, Floyd is not a heavyweight.
Correct.
In heavyweight, you can go and look at any heavyweight champion. They take losses.
All of them.
They take losses. The part about that makes them great is coming back and regaining the title. It's just with Fury, I feel like Deontay lost the first fight. And I tell people all the time, there's no way. Everyone knows in boxing you have to knock the champ out. The fact that he didn't knock him out, he didn't even knock him down, and Deontay had not one but 2 knockdowns, and it was still a draw, and you the champ, undefeated, like that shows signs right there. So I already knew what the second fight was gonna look like, and I don't see the third going any different unless he goes back to training and gets some defense, gets a good jab.
He's
His
going to
boxing
learn
skills.
technique
Yeah.
in the next how many months?
It's too early.
Yeah.
He need to fight like 1 or 2 more fights. Fight Fury like late next year sometime.
All right.
Well, that conflicts with the money side. You got 30 days to decide, and if not, I'm not
But
taking
do you think Fury? Here's a better question, which we didn't ask. You think Fury should fight Joshua?
Fury will watch Joshua. Joshua
no.
don't want no parts of Fury.
But
I think Wilder should fight Joshua.
That's what I That's what I think. I think Wilder should go fight Joshua, and then we'll be back in those talks. But I don't feel like Joshua, with his last 2 fights, from the Ruiz loss that he took, and then the rematch that was horrible. I was so mad that I tried to call Cable and say I ordered it by mistake to get my money back, and they didn't listen to me. It was like on both TVs you ordered it by mistake. I was like, yes. But I don't feel like Joshua, even though I think he was great as well, I don't feel like he should fight Fury. I did like the way Joshua took his L, though, as opposed to the way Deontay's going about it.
Yeah. The heavy outfit thing was a little, like, come on.
And don't throw the towel in. They shouldn't have threw it in.
Now they needed to throw it in.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Wait a minute, Rim. When is the album coming?
Okay, so I literally, when I leave here, I'm going to sit down with the powers that be at Columbia. I'm playing my album today.
Yeah.
And we will have a date. I'm hoping by the end of the week we pick a date, but the album is, I gotta let you hear something when we get downstairs. The album is.
I have a question for you too.
Same title?
No, I
Okay.
changed it. I changed it. You know what? I decided that after the storyline that we're doing on Love and Hip Hop, because they keep dragging it, I don't want to talk about prison no more. I don't want to talk about it at all. I don't want to talk about being there. I don't want to talk about how I was there. I don't want to because I just feel like I'm never gonna get it. It's my past. It's something that started in 2007. It's finally over in 2019. I'm done with it.
You off parole and everything, right?
Yep.
Congratulations.
So y'all know. No, I'm just.
So what's the title now?
Reminisce.
Reminisce.
You said you had a question,
Okay.
though?
Reminisce.
I can't ask her that question on here.
Oh, okay.
It's about sampling.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Jinx.
Hey, I don't want to. Hey, thank you for having us. I want to thank y'all for y'all's service and tenure in this culture. It's been a long time, and I don't know if people give you guys your flowers the way they need to at the end of these things.
Facts.
A lot of classic moments we've gotten from you guys.
Did you just end us?
I can't.
It's over.
Did I?
It's a wrap.
I mean, that's saying that I renewed the contract. We don't know what's gonna happen.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't want to see Envy in here with like some other shit going on. So while this collective is here, thank y'all. This collective.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys. It's the Breakfast Club.
Wow.
Stay in the culture.